Hi all, my name is Haley Comet and welcome to my cosmic corner of the internet where we discuss all things astrology. And today, Jupiter in Pisces, what this transit means collectively as well for your chart. We know that Jupiter is the planet of luck, of abundance, of belief system, and it is entering a sign. It finally enjoys its domicile, the sign of Pisces. This is a transit that will be going on for parts of 2021 and a larger part of 2022, and it bears enormous significance both for collective, all of us collectively, as well as for you individually. So I'll be breaking down firstly what we can expect when Jupiter enters its domicile, the sign of Pisces, in societal trends, and then I'll be breaking it down to explore what it means for your rising sign. Before I dive in though, if you wouldn't mind, if at any point you learn something new, you get excited about the transit, if you wouldn't mind, drop a like below, comment something. Those little nudges are really what helps me as a cosmic content creator. And without further ado, let's dive in. Jupiter in Pisces 2021-2022. So Jupiter enters Pisces May 13th, 2021, and it will stay in Pisces until July 28th, 2021. Then at the end of December 29th to be exact, of 2021, it'll re-enter Pisces for a longer stay until May of 2022. On May 10th, 2022, it'll enter Aries, and then it'll re-enter Pisces October 28th, 2022, and it will leave Pisces entirely in December. It's basically spring, summer 2021, and then a larger part of 2022. That's when the Jupiter in Pisces energy is ramping up. So what does this mean for us all collectively? Firstly, I want to mention that Jupiter has been unhappy for a while now. Jupiter has been in Aquarius, obviously, which in traditional astrology is governed by Saturn. And Saturn is the planet of restriction, of limitation, and Jupiter governs the opposite of that. So Jupiter wasn't really able to expand and grow and infuse us with good feelings when it's answering to Saturn, which is about rules and regulations and limitations. And yes, Jupiter's transit through Aquarius definitely made us aware of humanitarian goals, sort of moving futuristic projects along, so on and so forth. But there's also this blocked nature. And particularly if you're ruled by Jupiter, so that's my Sagittarian risings, my Pisces rising, you could have felt this feeling of not really feeling like magic is on your side, or not really being able to expand in the ways you want. Like it felt like you had to work really hard. It felt like you were really stuck. It felt like you were really limited. You were really stagnant. I mean, obviously Jupiter's planet of travel, and a lot of us have been in quarantine during this time. So even before Jupiter was in Aquarius, Jupiter was in Capricorn. Jupiter entered Capricorn 2019, which also enters to Saturn. So there was like this 2-year period where it's like Jupiter wasn't able to fully Jupiter because it was answering to rules, restrictions, limitations. And finally, Jupiter is entering waters where it is right at home. So we can expect a lot of the Jupiterian magic to kick in this summer. Now, what does Pisces govern? Pisces governs spirituality, it governs any sort of escapism, it governs dreams, it governs ideals. We're certainly in 2021, a very dreamy summer. And I've mentioned this in my 2021 video, is when looking at the astrology of it, it almost felt like this Gatsby sort of euphoria. And I think that's going to be a key theme with the Jupiter transit, for better and for worse. People tend to assume when we're talking about Jupiter, because it governs such great things, that, you know, it's an ultimately positive planet, and that is not the case. Jupiter can be a negative just as much as it can be a positive, because Jupiter, while it can really contribute to feelings of optimism, of expansion, of feeling like we can move forward in our life, it can also sort of manifest as this unchecked ego or unchecked risk-taking, or feeling so optimistic that we forget to check in with like risks or regulations, which I think we could run into with the Jupiter and Pisces influence. So while it is more comfortable, and you will find that you might be feeling more spiritual, you might be feeling more expansive, perhaps you're able to travel again, perhaps you're able to really look at life with this optimistic lens, it can definitely get out of control. And this summer, it definitely looks like this euphoric, joyful time. Since Jupiter will ingress back into Aquarius, it almost feels like, to me, when I look at the astrology of it, like things got out of control and maybe we opened things up too soon and things just sort of spiral. To be quite frank, that's what the energy sort of looks like to me. So definitely this summer and moving into 2022 as well, with Jupiter in Pisces, the best utilization of this is to reconnect to what really connects you to the bigger picture. Because that's what Pisces is all about, is finding that bigger picture that we feel inspired by, right? And so if you felt out of touch with your spirituality, with your religion, with Jupiter in Pisces, we can expect a really big boom in those areas. And I think in terms of societal trends, we'll see that as well, just spirituality getting even more trendy and all sorts of retreats, like spiritual retreats happening, all sorts of, spiritual businesses starting up. It definitely feels like there's going to be this sort of collective boom in terms of those themes, but also individually, you could find that you're more inclined to want to pray or to meditate or to do yoga or to take care of your spirit and to feel connected to something bigger, to reconnect to that feeling of, I'm not in this alone. I have a bigger picture. I have something that I do this for, because I think so many of us, with everything that has occurred, could feel really disjointed or disconnected or really isolated. And with Jupiter in Pisces, it's really this return back to what is it that you believe in. Another thing I think we'll see a boom in, and I want to be mindful because I'm new to YouTube and I know they like ding you who say certain terms, but anything by which you lose touch with reality. Jupiter in Pisces feels like a psychedelic trip. It feels, at least looking at the astrology of it, especially in 2022 when Jupiter meets up with Neptune, it feels nearly disarming because it's like such a out of touch with reality sort of influence. That's what Pisces wants. It wants to live in a dream. With Jupiter and Pisces, we're inspired by the dream. We want to dive into what we connect to. We want to truly merge to what we believe in, right? But there's also this theme of escapism, of wanting to merge into the dream and abandon all reality. That's why I was kind of saying that with Jupiter going back into Aquarius at the end of the summer, it almost feels like this sobering feeling at the end of the summer where you're like, okay, I've just been partying all summer and like nothing has really been accomplished towards my dreams. And yeah, it felt really good at the time, but it's almost like then the smoke screen is gone. It's like, okay, well, what was anything? Like these friends I partied with, it didn't mean anything. Like I don't feel that close to them. I spent all my nights drinking. I don't have as much money anymore. Things like that. And I don't mean to paint this transit in a negative light. I'm just letting you know, because I think to be forewarned is to be forearmed. It's definitely be mindful with any sort of thing that you do as far as ingesting, drinking, anything like that. I definitely think we'll see a boom of people wanting to party, like this euphoric sort of people like wanting to experiment with more things, people just being like, let me out into the real world, like clubs, entertainment, all after hours, getting a boost. Like Pisces is that domain. I also think, I mentioned this in my 2021 video, but it also could allow for looser regulations or outright decriminalization around drugs, particularly like cannabis, psychedelics, things of that nature would definitely be Piscean. So definitely if you choose to do that, be a little mindful of it. Of course, with Jupiter and Pisces, it's whispering all of these good feelings into your ear and you could feel really inspired. I just don't want you to like wake up and be like, where was all that energy? Which brings me to another point. I also think it'll be a really, really big creative boom. With Jupiter and Pisces, life will feel more lovely, will feel more inspired, things will feel more magical. So this spring and summer, if you're a creative, definitely dedicate lots of time to your art. You could find that you really, it's like it's being downloaded through you. Like you are just becoming one with that painting or that novel or something like that, and to really carve out that time for yourself, because Jupiter and Pisces is a creative's heyday. And it's important to note, both creating and consuming art will get a significant boost this spring, summer, and 2022. Industries in particular, I think will see a boom, is the cinema, the movie industry. I think all sorts of interesting movies will be coming out. Music will get a significant boost. Fashion, I think a lot of the sorts of art that will be coming out will be sort of Piscean in nature, sort of shimmery, dreamy, fantasy-like. So I would love to break down rising sign by rising sign what each of the signs can expect to be feeling, and I will have timestamps below, both in the description and in the pinned comment. Important disclaimer, when I say this, I'm typically referring to whole sign houses. Whole sign houses means when Jupiter enters Pisces, it enters a whole different house within your chart. I personally, as an astrologer, if you come see me for a consultation, I don't utilize whole sign houses. I utilize Placidus, which in a very simplistic way to sum this up, it means that every house will begin at a different degree. Like, for example, your third house, rather than starting at 0 degrees Pisces, it might start at 13 degrees Pisces. And you would have to check your individual houses to see when Jupiter will truly enter that sector of your chart. However, for the point of this video, it's typically simpler for me to just do rising sign houses, so whole sign house. But if you are Placidus astrology enthusiast, make sure to check what degree the Pisces house holds for you, and then check an ephemeris to see when Jupiter will enter that portion of your chart officially. Let me give an example for what I mean. So if you are a Placidus astrology enthusiast like myself, you will go to astro.com. Here is my chart. I know it's not very pretty, don't laugh at me. And then click on PDF additional tables. From there, to the right-hand side, you'll see the degree at which every house begins in your chart. So mine makes it a little complicated, but Ascendant, basically it's saying it'll enter the 7th house here. And we'll see Pisces 10 degrees is where my 7th house begins. So for me, Jupiter won't enter my 7th house until Jupiter is at 10 degrees. So then you would look at an ephemeris, scroll down, and find the date that Jupiter will enter 10 degrees Pisces, and that's when the 7th house transit would start. Let's compare that to a whole sign chart. You can always trigger the settings with an astro. If you use whole sign houses, Jupiter would enter my 7th house in this example right at 0 degrees Pisces. So this May, it will enter 7th house so that a transit would officially start. When I give this reading, I'm going to say Virgo rising, this will be transiting your 7th house. If you use whole sign houses, it'll be really simple. You'll know the entire time Jupiter is in Pisces, it'll be in your 7th house. If you use Placidus, check to see when your 7th house begins, in my example at 10 degrees Pisces. So basically, when you listen to this video for your rising sign, you will be experiencing that transit. The only difference house system truly makes is the exact dates in which you experience that transit. So Aries rising, when Jupiter enters Pisces, it's in your 12th house. Jupiter actually does pretty well here, but it might be a time where you feel a little bit more isolated, or you want to spend a little bit more time alone. You could also feel really inspired or really expanded by altruistic efforts, by wanting to, meet with people in hospitals, or even like visit prisoners, or visit people who might feel trapped within their own world and sort of be a guardian angel to them in some way, and to find how much it really feeds your soul to be compassionate in that way. You could find that your own spirituality gets a major boost. You're more inclined to meditate. You're more inclined to want to be of service to other human beings. You're more inclined for religious pursuits. You could find that mediumistic or any sort of lucid dreaming or any sort of dream work in particular is really boosted. You could find that you're really, really diving into areas of your life that used to be suppressed, and now it's like bubbling up. Like, let me give an example. Let's say, you run into the same circumstance every time you're job interviewing, where you interview for the job, you get pretty far, and then they say, you're just not, cut out for the position, you're not confident enough. This could be the sort of energy where you finally free up a portion of your brain that almost self-sabotages yourself in those interviews by downplaying your accomplishments and your achievements because it felt safer. That's a really specific example. What I'm trying to say is it's almost like this peeling back of the underlying scripts that you tell yourself and how that impacts your reality. It's important to note 12th house is the hidden house, but it's right by the 1st house. And I think of it as like the skeletons in our closet, like all of the stuff that we can't see, but it's right by for our rising sign, which is how we view the world. So it's almost like the stuff that we're not aware of, the stuff that we just left to the back of our mind, but it impacts everything that we do, see, say, and believe about ourselves. And Jupiter in 12th house is sort of this energy of going through and being like, have I really dealt with this trauma from 4th grade? Have I really healed that portion of myself that got rejected when I was 16? Those little things that we just ignore, repress. And what's so important, especially since it's in Pisces, is that you fight against temptations to escape, right? Because there will be this portion of you where it's easier to escape, maybe, getting very intoxicated, than dealing with stuff that could be coming up at this time, because Jupiter in 12th house, it can be marked with particular like losses or endings of some sort within your life, and it's intense stuff to deal with. And if you numb yourself, if you just like kind of live in the Jupiter Pisces like neon psychedelic daydream, you're not really going to get the opportunity to do that deep down work. So I definitely say sit with the skeletons in your closet and know that this is really a brand new start for you, because Jupiter will enter Aries May 10th, 2022, and then it'll enter for its longer stay later that year. So when Jupiter crosses your ascendant, you'll be feeling a lot more like bold, courageous, all of the Aries rising things that you're used to feeling. But this is sort of a time with making peace with the last chapter of your life, making peace with all of the stuff happening within your brain, and kind of getting prepped for the next evolution of your life. And since house-wise, it's not really doing your Aries placements any favors, you might find that things aren't really clicking as you think they should, or opportunities aren't like falling into place right away. Just trust that this is a time of just kind of clearing house from internal perspective, from a spiritual perspective, perhaps giving to some sort of altruistic or compassionate cause that you're passionate about, and get ready for your brand new beginning in 2022 onward. Taurus risings, Jupiter will be transiting your 11th house. And this is great because Jupiter was squaring you. And, you know, everyone thinks that Jupiter transits are so great, but I'm here to let you know that they aren't always great. And with it squaring, you could have found that, you know, you were taking on too much. And with Jupiter in the 11th house, you could find that you're getting very inspired by your colleagues, by your associates, that you're really in the mood to want to connect with different individuals. And this summer, moving into 2022, is definitely an opportunity to put yourself out there in terms of your professional networks. Like, you never know how that coffee date or that meeting could be disguised as a brand new opportunity, a brand new fresh start within your life. So say yes to the coffee date, say yes to that business happy hour. Put yourself out there. A lot of your blessings are going to come to you through your extended circle. You could also find that you're very inspired by the future, whether it's the future of your life, like your professional future, or just the future of humanity. You could find that you're more inclined to want to get involved with organizations, or even like spiritual organizations within Pisces, like more inclined to like want to rejoin a yoga studio, more inclined to want to like start your own anti-litter campaign. Really be around people who inspire you about where we're going in life and really make you feel like you're doing something good with your time. It could also be a time, you know, Jupiter definitely expands, but it could be this energy where you're free from friendships that haven't really served you, or colleagues where you don't feel inspired, like they're, you know, helping and building towards a more positive beginning. So definitely a time to be surrounded by people who inspire you. Jupiter will be making a sextile to your Taurus placement, so it's a really, really helpful energy for you. And I've also found that sometimes we get a lot of blessings when Jupiter goes into the 11th house, because, you know, you've had so much energy fixated in the 10th house, which is career, public persona. You can find your all of your hard work you've been putting into what it is that you want to build. You're getting some rewards, and you are being able to look towards the future and being like, okay, what do I want to create? Or even like going on a retreat with a bunch of people, leading a retreat with a bunch of people, taking a bigger, you know, manager role, overseeing people. It's really an energy where you're feeling expansive about what you can create, about who you're around, and you really want to just kind of enjoy life and share ideas and move forward with your life. You can also find that your social networks blow up, like online social networks as well. So definitely a great time to put out that blog, put out that website, so on and so forth. My Gemini rising, Jupiter will be transiting your 10th house. So what's important to say about this firstly is that yes, this is an impactful transit for you, but it is squaring your Gemini placement. So your Gemini rising or any other Gemini placement that you may have. And we tend to think of Jupiter as just this happy-go-lucky, always great planet. And that's not always the case. I have a series on my channel. It's called Planetary Pep Talks. And my Jupiter installment will be available soon, because while Jupiter is great, it's good feelings, it's optimism, it can also lead to like unchecked growth, ego, and biting off more than we can chew. So I would definitely look for when exactly Jupiter will square, because that's really a time that you're not going to want to overcommit yourself or take really foolish risks of any sort, because Jupiter's whispering in your ear saying, you could do it all. you're feeling so good. So don't mean to scare you, just something important to note about this particular transit. However, with Jupiter in the 10th house, this will bring enhanced rewards for you in the public sphere. So you could find you get a promotion. You could find that you are freed from a job that you didn't like, and you're able to carve your career in a path that really inspires you. You could find that you are getting more leadership opportunities, more managerial opportunities. It's important with Jupiter, though, that you put yourself out there. Like, when I see my clients and they have a big Jupiter transit, I'm like, how'd you utilize it? And sometimes they're like, oh, I don't know. Things felt good and I didn't really do anything. Take advantage of it. Like, this is a year where luck is on your side, particularly professionally. So if you are unhappy in your career, this is really an opportunity to start securing the education, the certifications to set you up for where you are going next. Or if you are happy in your career, Jupiter transiting this area is the time that you start reaching out about promotions, reaching out about opportunities to work in your position abroad or remote or travel while doing your permission, as Jupiter is, freedom and travel. And when it's transiting the sector, you can find that you're able to find a little bit more freedom in your workday. So definitely experiment with different sort of working styles. I have a couple of clients who've set up their own businesses during this transit, and it's a very expansive, you're being seen in the spotlight and you're having more opportunities to put yourself out there and honestly to blow up. And this would also be a great time to secure education, secure courses, to up-level yourself in your career. You could find that you're able to appeal to your bosses, your authority figures a little bit better, as well as be perceived as a leader. My Cancer risings, Jupiter will be transiting your 9th house. And this is great because Jupiter will be making a trine aspect to your Cancer placements, whether that's just your ascendant or if you have other Cancer placements as well. And this is great because Jupiter in Aquarius really wasn't doing you any favors from an angle perspective, and now it's making a nice trine, so you're going to be able to reap a lot more of the Jupiterian presence than you kind of were able to before. My Cancer risings, if you can travel, please travel during this time. With Jupiter transiting the sector, it indicates that it will be a very abundant, expansive time for you to kind of widen your perspective on this earth. And you can find that you are very inspired when you are traveling, that things just sort of click into place. See somewhere that you've never been. Allow yourself to feel free and to feel inspired by life. Perhaps you go on some sort of spiritual retreat, since it's in Jupiter and Pisces, or a yoga retreat, or get your meditation certificate. Whatever it is, to get yourself out of the same old, and to widen your view. I know you're a Cancer rising, you like being at home, you like being comfy, but with Jupiter transiting the sector, you can find that in terms of your belief systems, you're just feeling so inspired and enriched by life and just in the mood to experience, to make memories. Maybe quarantine showed you, you can have too much of a good thing. Everyone loves being at home, but maybe you're feeling a little locked in and it's like, this is the time, because truly, yes, this happens every 12 years. So it's not like a once in a lifetime transit, but maybe it really showed you that there's no time like the present and you're just like, I want to live life. I want to go out there. Of course, you don't necessarily have to travel. This could also indicate, expanding your business to take on international clients. It could also indicate getting a master's degree, getting any sort of higher education. It could also be a time where you really recommit to your spiritual beliefs, your religious beliefs, and feel inspired by it. It's really a time to peel back the layer from just the regular and the typical to be like, okay, what is it that I believe in? What is it that really inspires me? What do I feel connected to? What broader ideals of life do I feel so passionate about? And to follow that, truly. My Leo rising. So with Jupiter in your 8th house, you could find that you're able to receive a lot of support from other people. You could find that you receive a inheritance, or if you've been waiting on alimony, waiting on child support, finally money that's owed to you from others is like rushing in, right? You could get married to someone who is abundant, or your spouse gets a income boost of some sort where all of a sudden there's more resources that you didn't necessarily earn but is available to you there. You could find significant boosts in your investments and passive income in sort of things like that, where it's not like you putting in the work but money's coming to you regardless. You could also find this is the time where you are really processing some shifts in your life. Maybe you really had to let go of some things, and with Jupiter in the 8th, you could find that if you've been struggling with grief, or if you've even just been struggling with an area of your life that was outdated and you just need to let it go, with Jupiter transiting the 8th, you're a little bit more open and inspired by the changes that are taking place. So you're a little bit more likely to want to do that deep work and to heal that portion of yourself and to be able to sort of move on. And it's not an ignore ignoring of it. It's definitely dealing with your grief, whether it's like grieving, you know, someone who passed away, or grieving a relationship, or even like grieving outdated parts of yourself. It's sort of this energy where you're more likely to want to like shed the past parts of yourself, and you're free to sort of move forward. If you've been dealing with some frustrating situations involving your taxes, you've been audited with Jupiter in the 8th house, it does indicate that those sort of situations will be alleviated. You could get a nice like tax refund. You could find more like kind of government support. You could find that your parents are more likely to support you, or you get some sort of gift from someone else that really expands your world. My Virgo risings, Jupiter is transiting your 7th house. So 7th house is one-to-one relationships, partnerships. So with Jupiter in 7th house, if you're single, Virgo risings, you could find that you're getting way more attention than you've ever gotten before. Like all of a sudden there's just tons of eligible bachelorettes or bachelors waiting for you to just pick who you want. You know, Jupiter expands and it brings many things, right, when it enters a house. So rather than just one potential suitor, suddenly it's like 20 and you're like, oh my gosh, there's like a lot. And one thing I'll just mention, Virgo risings, is, you know, with Pisces, there can be this temptation to want to keep ourselves in this dream, right? In this illusion. So definitely be mindful. I mean, you all are rational folks, but there can be this energy of wanting to like seeing the potential in people rather than what they are like literally doing for you or for your life. So I would get other people's opinion, especially since Jupiter will be opposing any of your Virgo placements. So it's not something you're able to see really clearly. So get other opinions regarding the people that you are dating if you're single, to make sure that they're, you know, a great person, not taking advantage of you in any way. Because the Pisces Ascendant, let's be real, Virgo risings, there could be a tendency for you to want to like kind of fix people and save people and not see the reality of the situation. So with Jupiter in the Pisces, you'll definitely get a lot more romantic attention, and not necessarily like in a fun sort of way, that's 5th house, but like people who are trying to like bae you up, and you definitely can fall in love during this transit. But I would just say get other people's opinions before doing so. If you are committed, this could be a time that you're feeling very inspired by your partner. Perhaps you travel with your partner. Perhaps you enter this heyday of a relationship where you guys just feel so euphoric together, right? And I will say that with Jupiter transits in 7th house, if it's a relationship that you're not inspired by, that you feel like you're not growing by, it could be a time that you seek more freedom within your world by letting the relationship go. It's a hard truth of it. Honestly, when Jupiter's in 7th house, it's a common relationship trigger, because wherever Jupiter's transiting, we tend to feel more optimistic about the affairs of that house. So within 7th house, there's like this feeling of like, well, I'm not totally happy with you, and I'm feeling like I could find someone else and be happy with them. That's like this sort of energy. Not saying that every Virgo rising will experience a breakup. Like I said, it can be a very euphoric, great feeling transit, but just something important to note. Outside of romantic relationships, I would also mention this bodes well for any sort of business partnerships. You could find that, you know, you're able to retain more clients if you work for yourself in some vicinity, or if you work in sales, being able to, bring on more contacts, that would generate commission. You could find that a lot of your blessings come to you via like one-to-one referrals. So definitely set up like in your business, like an affiliate program or something where people can refer you, or even like asking clients you've worked with, like, hey, is there anyone else you think my services would be a great fit for? Like, be open to ask people for things, for favors, for advice, for referrals, because a lot of your blessings are coming to you via your circle and by who you're surrounded by. You could also find that in terms of business partnerships, you could find that, you're really inspired by the person you're working with. I would definitely say it's opposing you, and within your 7th house, you're very optimistic about that sector of your life, whether it's relationships or business. So get outer counsel, get a lawyer on board to oversee any contract that you sign. Yes, Jupiter in 7th house does bode well for contracts. It typically is a lucky transit there. But I've just seen too many times my clients with Jupiter in the 7th house, it's like you feel super optimistic, you sign the contract, and then when Jupiter leaves this house, it's like, okay, well, there was a couple of holes that I didn't totally address in that contract because I felt so optimistic about it and I wanted it to work so well. So something to be mindful of. My Libra risings, Jupiter is transiting your 6th house of health, of service, of day-to-day. And this transit will definitely bring this feeling of sort of like inspiration in your day-to-day. Like you could find that, you know, you weren't really enjoying your work and you finally like just feel good about it and you feel inspired about going to work every day. Maybe some of the responsibilities were freed off your plate, so you feel a little bit more freer walking into work every day. Or maybe you took on like a different project that really expands you and makes you feel really interested in your work again. Other manifestations, you could get a pet during this influence. With Jupiter expanding, 6th house is also small animals. If you've been struggling with some sort of health situation, Jupiter could finally kind of shed some illumination around that sector of your life where you're finally able to seek a solution for it, or some knowledge or something that wasn't made aware to you is finally made aware to you. With Jupiter in 6th house, this is a very optimistic transit to undergo some sort of, you know, diet or exercise shift. If you've wanted to start exercising, there's a sort of transit where you can feel inspired by it, you like to do it. And since it's Pisces, there could be this influence of wanting to integrate like some mind-body exercise, like maybe you get into yoga or Tai Chi or something of the nature where it's sort of like mindful and it sort of connects you, or it's a meditative practice for you. It's good for your body and it's good for your spirit. I'm so sorry if the angle changed slightly. My card was full, so I just had to deal with that. But alas, this is the energy where you are a little bit more inclined to want to treat your body like a temple, like from the inside out. Like you could get on a health kick or just find it's more inspiring to want to eat clean, to do nice things for your body. You could find if you have employees, you have a greater relationship with them, or you could even find, I've found a couple of times that this is the sort of energy that people can finally hire employees, like hire that assistant that you've been needing, or finally your business is growing enough where you're able to sort of outsource some of the work that you don't like doing, leading to your workday feeling a little bit more productive and a little bit more fulfilling. My Scorpio rising, so this is doing you a favor because Jupiter will now trine your Scorpio placement. So it's in a nice sort of harmonious flow of energy, and you could find that you're able to really tap into the Jupiterian magic much more so than when Jupiter was in Aquarius, at which point it was squaring your Scorpio placements. So with Jupiter in the 5th house, you are gonna have a hot girl summer, hot guy summer, hot day summer, hot summer. And I don't mean temperature. With Jupiter entering this sector, you are in the mood to party, you are in the mood to enjoy life, and you can feel like there is like a creative boom within your world. 5th house is the party of the zodiac, and especially with it in Pisces, it's like it's going to be this hypnotic sort of influence where you are just so wanting to party, to dance, to enjoy life. You could find that you're getting a lot more romantic attention, not so much like wanting to, you know, be committed with someone, but just flirting, banter, keeping things light, having all sorts of romantic attention on you. My creative Scorpio risings, you can find you are just so inspired. You could find that your art gets a significant boost, your creations get a significant boost. Scorpio risings, if you've been attempting to conceive, Jupiter transiting the 5th house is a common fertility trigger, or you could find you could adopt children, anything of that like would be expanded here. But all in all, you can really enjoy a lot more, you know, free time, recreational time, indulge in your hobbies, indulge in your creativity. And yes, with Jupiter and Pisces, you know, you might be inclined to want to go out all the time, want to celebrate life all the time. Be mindful, that's all I'll say. You know, Pisces is a very dreamy influence, but don't get carried away, don't take unnecessary risks, but have fun. This is a really, really fun transit. In addition to physical children, it could just be a time of just really tapping into the part of yourself that's sort of like just childlike and fun. Maybe tapping into the hobbies that you used to love when you were a child, like making movies or writing or anything like that, and just realizing like that you've lost that part of yourself that just does things just for their own sake. And with Jupiter entering the 5th house for parts of 2021 and parts of 2022, it's almost like this resurgence of the part of you that just wants to celebrate and have fun and tap into the sort of lighter, more fun energy that you carry. So tap into it and have fun. My Sagittarian risings. Ooh, so as a Sag rising, Jupiter is your ruling planet. So you're more sensitive to what Jupiter is doing. And like I said at the beginning of the video, Jupiter has been unhappy for some time now. So Jupiter is finally entering some terrain which it enjoys. And you'll feel this boost because I always say Sagittarius and Pisces are really magical signs, and you typically have magic sort of working with you. Like they're so lucky. Things just tend to like sort of work out, or the odds could be really good. For Sag and Pisces rising, that luck could have felt like it was not working for you since like December 2019. So expect with this transit, you'll feel like the cosmos are back in your favor and you're back in your magic. You're back to being inspired. You're back to feeling a little bit freer or a little bit more light with life. And it will be squaring you. So be gentle in terms of, escapism or just allowing the optimism to overwhelm you. Be mindful, keep it grounded, but definitely celebrate this return to self, it feels like. With Jupiter in the 4th house, I'll name some manifestations. First being, you could just find your emotional state. You're feeling more like yourself again. You're feeling more optimistic. You're feeling happier. You feel like a weight has been lifted off of you. Your ruling planet has been answering to Saturn. That's a really heavy, limiting influence. So you can find during this time that you're just feeling lighter. You're just feeling freer from the inside out. And then people can feel that from you. Your emotional state just feels a little bit more optimistic, a little bit more generous, a little bit more giving. 4th house has to do with our physical living situation. So this could be an energy that perhaps if you're looking to buy, you find the perfect place. Like luck is sort of on your side if you do want to buy a property, whether it's for yourself to live in or like some sort of rental property or something you like, you can find you're a little bit more lucky when it comes to real estate. You could also find you're a little bit more lucky when it comes, if you have to find a roommate, that you could find like a perfect roommate who really expands, your worldview and makes your immediate living situation fun. By the same token, if you've been living with like a wet blanket, this could be the energy that you free yourself from that roommate to either live by yourself or live with a roommate who doesn't, suck the air out of a room. You could also find that you move to somewhere bigger. Jupiter would definitely indicate like an expansion of property. Maybe you renovate your home to make it a little bit more bigger or more airy. Common transit is you could set up abroad if you really wanted to. This would be a great transit to do so. You could find that you really are inspired by living somewhere else for some time, of course, when it's like safe for you to do so and all of those things. If there have been drama with your family members or you haven't felt that close with them, with Jupiter in the 4th house, you could find that some of that is sort of not necessarily healed, but you feel better about it. You might feel like you can find some forgiveness, find some lightness in that area of your life. Or you could find this time that you get closer with your family. You're more inclined to want to spend time with them. Maybe, your family grows in some way, like, someone has a baby. My Capricorn risings, Jupiter will be transiting your 3rd house, and Jupiter is going to be helping you out here. Jupiter was doing you no favors when it was in Aquarius. It doesn't make any aspect to you. And now it will make a sextile to you. And with that being said, it's sort of sending you the supportive sort of energy. And for you, you could find you're inspired by and really invigorated by perhaps like words or like social media or communication. You could find you're more inclined to like want to blog, want to put your word out there, want to start a social media thing, want to like, just share your experience. You could also find that, you're more curious. You want to take classes, like your mind is really being stimulated. And yeah, it might be Piscean themes of classes that you're taking. Like you want to get more into like meditation. You want to get more into yoga. You want your yoga teacher certification. There's sort of this curiosity that you're looking at life with, and you're sort of tapping into this energy of allowing everything to be a learning opportunity. And it's not like distant, far away learning. It's more so learning that you can do like right here, right now. So like getting closer with your neighbors or taking class down the street or like joining your neighborhood board. I joined this thing. It's called Street Stewards. It's like everyone adopts a block and then you pick up the litter from the block. I don't know. I have natal Jupiter in the 3rd house, so I love having a close connection with my neighborhood and feeling like I'm making it a better place. So maybe there's some sort of energy like that. You join the HOA, you join a book club nearby, you do something where it makes your neighborhood feel more lovely, or you can move an area where, your immediate environment feels really lovely. You could find this energy really stimulates your brain. You're wanting to learn more, you're wanting to study more, you're wanting to write more, you're wanting to more so process the world. You're wanting to get lost into the realm of sort of like word and thought and understanding things. You can get some certifications under your belt during this time. Wanted to quickly mention that 3rd house also governs marketing, sales, web presence, things of the like. So you're also getting a lucky boost there. So it is a great time to be reforming your website, start a blog for your business, invest in more social media strategy for your business or for yourself as a passion project. So allow yourself to be inspired by the world around you, the people around you, your immediate network, so on and so forth. My Aquarius rising, so Jupiter is moving out of your sign. sad face, but Jupiter will be entering Pisces. And for you, this is a sector of your chart that governs resources, money, and possessions. So you can find with Jupiter in the second house, you are more likely to bring some more income. I remember the day Jupiter moved into my second house, I got a raise when I was at my 9 to 5. Like, I'm telling you, more money is coming in, whether it's like a side income that you're finally monetizing or a raise at work. Income is going up, my friend. And it could have something to do with Piscean themes, cameras, film, something alike. So if you've wanted to start a side job in that, this would be a great time to like invest in equipment, a camera, if you want to do something like that, or other Piscean themes would be spiritual themes, any sort of like bartending, if you want to do bartending. Is that a certification? I don't know. Basically any sort of Piscean theme, if you wanted to make money from those sort of themes, that would be supported during this time. I do want to mention that Jupiter expands money coming in and money going out. So this could be a time that you want to raise your entire lifestyle. You're like, I don't want to wear these, like once more money's coming in, it's like, well, that rug is gross and I don't want to wear these shoes and now I want to invest in skincare. It's like, everything goes up, right? The money coming in, but also the money flowing right back out. So I would definitely say this is a great time. Get yourself set up on a savings account, investment account, make your money work for you. There will be more money coming in. It can be a great time to invest in your professional skill set, to, invest in yourself and your money-making ability, but don't allow it to just leave right when it gets into your bank account. Great time. Jupiter is expansive, it's optimistic. So there could be this energy of being like, oh yeah, it'll always be like this, but really set yourself up. So if there is a bad month, if something, happens, you're set up for the future using this really lucrative time for yourself. So take advantage of it. My Pisces risings, yes, so Jupiter, your ruling planet, is entering your sign, and you're gonna feel this, my friends. You're gonna feel so optimistic. You're gonna feel like the world is your oyster. Your magic is back. Can that be taken to excess? Absolutely, Pisces risings. This is a common transit, and trigger warning, I'm gonna be talking about weight. This is a common transit that individuals can gain weight. Nothing to be feared. It's just our bodies. Our bodies have kept us alive during the panini that's been going on. So, if that happens, it just really typically stems from this enjoyment of life, right? It's like you want to stay till after hours and have the extra glass of wine and eat the cake. You want to enjoy life. You're feeling good about life. You're feeling inspired about life. And life is really too short to be like keeping yourself to anything too firmly, especially if it doesn't serve you. So typically, if that does happen, if you do gain a little bit of weight, it's no big deal. It typically just stems from this optimism that sort of overtakes you. But just need to mention, Jupiter expands what it touches. First house, it does indicate your body, but you can also find you're more like curvaceous, you're feeling more confident in your body, you're more likely to want to like invest in appearance and like hair and skincare. You're just feeling good about yourself. You're feeling confident. You want to put yourself out there. This is sort of influence where you could, honestly, your luck can be transferred in kind of any direction. I would just say be mindful around escapism, be mindful around going to excess with anything, but definitely use this optimism and go after things, friends. Like with Jupiter, it's opportunities, but you have to find them and source them. They don't just come up to you. So send that reach letter, reach out to that publication that you would love to work for. Shoot your shot, Pisces risings, because magic is working for you. You could also find that you're just feeling more confident in yourself. You're more inclined to want to be independent, stand on your own 2 feet. So channel that energy. You could find that you feel like yourself again, like you feel your magic, your spirituality is coming back. You remember like who it is that you are, what is it that you stand for, and you're looking out the world like, what can I create next? Like, how can I make a difference on everyone? Like you're really feeling connected to your fellow human beings. So take advantage of this time. Friends, Jupiter in Pisces is a very hypnotizing, euphoric transit. And while it brings a lot of good, enhanced spirituality, a boom in creativity and entertainment of life, it can go to excess. So just something to keep in mind. What did you think of the video? I'd love to hear your thoughts below. My Instagram handle is @HaleyCometAstrology. My TikTok is HaleyCometAstrology as well. And until we meet again, drink lots of water and stay cosmic.